Focus is not just a mindset, it's a neurological process. The human brain is wired to filter out the irrelevant so it can highlight what matters. But in the modern world, we're forcing it to process everything at once. This creates what neuroscience calls attentional residue. Every time you switch from one task to another, checking your phone, responding to an email, scrolling through social media, you leave behind traces of cognitive residues. This residue reduces the mental sharpness required for deep work. It's like trying to sprint with a weighted vest. You're moving, but not efficiently. The prefrontal cortex, the region of the brain that handles focus and decision making, works best when given singular objectives. When overloaded, it doesn't just slow down, it begins to malfunction. Research shows that multitasking reduces productivity by up to 40%. Why? Because the brain doesn't multitask, it switches. And with every switch, there's a cost. It takes anywhere from 23 to 30 minutes for the brain to fully re-engage with the original task after being distracted. So, if you're allowing even minor interruptions, text messages, background noise, notifications, you're operating at a neurological disadvantage. Elimination then becomes the first step of the focus formula. It's not about what you do, but what you deliberately don't allow. You create focus not by piling on strategies, but by removing interference. Imagine a spotlight. Its power lies not in how many things it can shine on, but how intensely it can light up one thing at a time. The same applies to your brain. The more things competing for your attention, the weaker the beam. But when you eliminate the unnecessary, when you silence the noise, your cognitive light intensifies. There's also a physiological shift that happens. When the brain knows what to ignore, it reduces internal conflict. The anterior cingulate cortex, involved in error detection and conflict monitoring, quiets down. You stop second guessing. You stop bouncing between tabs of desires. You start executing. The nervous system calms, stress hormones decrease, and cognitive clarity increases. What you're left with is a brain optimized for direction, a nervous system built for forward motion. Focus, therefore, begins with subtraction, not more ambition, not more tasks, but less. Less clutter, fewer options, fewer mental tabs open. Because in a world obsessed with addition, the real power comes from elimination. Vision is the gateway to focus. The way we use our eyes directly influences how we direct our thoughts, energy, and attention. This isn't metaphorical. It's rooted in biology. The visual system is deeply connected to the brain's attentional networks. When your eyes lock onto a single point in space, you initiate a physiological cascade that narrows your mental focus as well. This process recruits the brain's goal-directed circuitry, particularly in the prefrontal cortex and basal ganglia, signaling the nervous system that something matters. The eyes act as steering wheels for the brain. In survival scenarios, animals and humans use focal vision to pursue goals, detect threats, and make decisions. That same biological mechanism still operates in modern life. When you physically narrow your gaze, you suppress what's called panoramic awareness, which is linked to broad scanning and distractibility. You shift from a relaxed, passive state into an active, pursuit-driven mode. This transition is not just psychological, it changes the chemical balance in your brain, increasing levels of dopamine and acetylcholine, neurotransmitters associated with motivation, learning, and focus. Now apply this to emissions. Just like your eyes focus on one object, your mind must focus on one outcome. A scattered vision creates a scattered brain. But when you define your mission clearly, visually, emotionally, and cognitively, you create alignment. The reticular activating systems, a network in your brainstem responsible for filtering information, starts acting as a gatekeeper. It begins to highlight only the data, opportunities, and patterns that relate to your goal. Everything irrelevant fades into the background, just like peripheral noise does when you stare straight ahead. Your vision doesn't just determine what you see. It determines how you perceive what you see. Anchored to a mission, the brain assigns meaning to challenges. It no longer views obstacles as threats, but as steps toward progress. That's why clarity of vision is more than strategy. It's a biological tool for forward momentum. You move faster when the brain is no longer asking, what should I pay attention to? Because once the vision is locked in, the question becomes, how do I move closer? This is how motivation is sustained, not through hype or inspirations, but through the biological precision of visual and cognitive alignment with a clearly defined mission. Dopamine is not about pleasures. That's the first misconception that has to be cleared. Dopamine is about drive. It is the molecule of pursuit, of anticipation, of forward movement. When you're focused on one goal, dopamine becomes the fuel that powers that focus. It doesn't reward you for achieving the goal. It rewards you for progressing toward it. This is a crucial distinction because the way you structure your behavior and mindset around dopamine can either push you toward your mission or leave you feeling constantly distracted and unfulfilled. Every time you move a step closer to your goal, whether it's finishing a workout, completing a paragraph, or solving a challenge, your brain releases a pulse of dopamine. That pulse reinforces the behavior and increases the likelihood that you'll repeat it. This is how habits are formed, not through discipline alone, but through neurochemical feedback. But if you chase dopamine through passive rewards, scrolling, binging, short-term distractions, you train your brain to crave instant hits rather than sustained direction. You fragment your dopamine system, and a fragmented dopamine system is a fragmented life. The key then is to intentionally link dopamine to the process, not just the result. When you reward yourself mentally for showing up, for effort, for deliberate practice, you build a more resilient motivational systems. Your brain starts seeing discomfort as part of the reward cycle. That shift is everything. It's what separates those who endure from those who quit. Because the mission is rarely easy. It requires repetition, setbacks, plateaus, and resistance.